business, Visual Finance, Alan helps people and organisations save time and make better financial decisions by showing them how to go from information to insight, to most powerfully communicate numbers. On moving to Australia from Dublin, Ireland in 2009, Alan found 3 new loves: Excel, data visualisation, and stand-up comedy. Now Alan has performed in 2 Melbourne International Comedy Festivals, although neither of those was on Excel-related topics. Today, Alan will share with us how we can so easily fall into making poor financial decisions, and more importantly, how to improve our money matters utilising best practice. Please join with me in welcoming Alan. Thank you very much.
Good evening, folks. A few years ago, a friend of mine organised a charity comedy gig in country Victoria outside Melbourne, about 200 k's. And I was walking down the back lanes from my apartment to go and get a lift from my friends at the petrol station. And all of a sudden, bang, I smacked my face off the ground. I got up. It wasn't that sore. There was no one around, so I wasn't very embarrassed. But what I did notice, there was blood pumping out of my nose. I had a 10 packet of tissues. It lasted about 5 minutes. So I looked in the reflection of a car window and there was a big, huge gaping hole at the top of my nose. So instead of going to the comedy gig, my friends brought me to the emergency department. The first thing the doctor did is he took out his phone and he took a picture. And he said, "I'm going to send this to the plastic surgeon. We may need to graft some skin from your bum to your face." Super, how much comedy is this? The nurse cleaned up my face and put some bandages on, and then news came back at about 4:30 that I did not need Operation Bumface. Winning, alright? Everybody had already gone to the gig down the country, so I managed to borrow a car and I drove 200 k's to the gig. I arrived just before the end of the first half. They said, "Alan, right, you go on, you open the second half of the gig." And here I am in all my glory. The show must go on. But now, what made me smack my face off the ground? Who'd like to guess? And I will bribe for answers, folks.
You tripped?
I tripped? But why did I trip?
Because you were looking at your phone.
Who said that?
Me, looking at your phone.
Looking at your phone. Yeah, there you go. Is that how you injured your arm too? No? I was on my phone, I was on Facebook. It's the problem today. Too much information in the world. There's too many distractions. And it's the exact same when it comes to accounting and finance. There's more and more and more data being produced, more and more numbers. But that just means there's more and more information. So what we actually need these days is we need insight, not information. Too much information in the world. I was at the CPA Congress in Melbourne last year, and a fellow speaker of mine, Cyril Corlaven, presented about his book, Less is Beautiful. And this slide is etched in my memory. First one, information, that's accountants and their table of numbers. But where we really need to get to is, we need to join the dots and then highlight what's actually meaningful. We're talking to our business partners, people we're providing the numbers to. What are the numbers that mean something? What are the numbers that matter? What are the numbers we need to focus on to make better decisions? So what actually stops us from making better decisions? What hinders us? So first, what I'd like to talk about is mental bias. And this is one of the biggest mental biases that we as humans have. It's called mental accounting. Now for 60 seconds, I'd like you to talk to the person beside you, and I want you to talk about what you think mental accounting actually is. So for 60 seconds, talk to the person beside you, and what do you think mental accounting is?
That's pretty good.
And we're back, guys. Now, who wants to be the smarty? Who would like to give up their answer of what they think mental accounting is?
Doing it in your head.
Doing it in your head. So that's the literal translation. You can have some smarties for your answer. Thank you very much. So that is the literal meaning of how you're doing it in your head. But to explain what mental accounting means, I'd like to tell you a tale. It's called The Tale of the Man in the Green Bathrobe. And there was a newlywed couple, and they went to Las Vegas for their honeymoon. And they had $1,000 for their gambling allowance. And they'd spent it all. Sitting in bed, the new groom was lying there, and on the sideboard he saw a $5 chip with the number 17 glowing on it. And he took this as an omen. So he put on his green bathrobe and he went downstairs to the casino. And he bet his $5 chip on number 17. And he won. 35 to 1. $175. Bet again. $6,125. And he rolled his luck all the way to 7.2 million. And then the owner of the casino stepped in and he says, sorry, we wouldn't be able to cover that bet if you won again. So off he went to another casino. And they took his bet. 262 million he got to. And he gambled again. And then he lost it all. Tired and dejected, he went back to his hotel. And his bride said, where have you been? I was worried about you. Oh, I was just playing roulette. How did you do? Not bad. I only lost $5. So mental accounting, our gambler had decided the $262 million was the casino's money. And not his money, all he had was $5. And this is what mental accounting does to us. We put our money in different brackets. So I'm sure we all have savings, we've got rent, we've got holiday money, fun money. You don't treat your fun money the same way you do your savings money. So that really affects how we make decisions and how we view different money. And it's the same with viewing your business's money. You'll view your department's money quite different to somebody else's department. You'll spend it like that. Now, there's a few other mental biases that we need to take into consideration. And one of those is the halo effect. So if someone does really well in one part of a business, people will assume they'll do really well in another part of the business. So we've all seen a golden boy or girl, and they're a golden boy or girl until it all goes amiss. There's also the sunk cost fallacy, spending good money after bad. And the example for this would be if you spent $15 on a cinema ticket, and after an hour you think the film is not very good, and you go, oh, I'm going to stay here because I've spent the money. No, you need to leave and enjoy your half an hour left doing something you actually like. Not just because you pay doesn't mean you have to stay there. So that's what we mean by mental biases. So when we show people just information and not what matters, there's far too much room for all these mental biases to creep in. So how do we prevent that? Well, if we take our gambler, if his new wife was standing there, he wouldn't have lost 262 million. He'd still be a very rich man. So at home, bouncing our decisions off somebody else who's a bit more sane sometimes will help you to better decisions. In the workplace, we need to get everybody on the same page. We need everybody to know what's going to be a good decision, what numbers are important, how can we make the best decision for the organisation. And we do that by going from information to insight. So to start, the very basics of that, this is my visual finance insight meter. You see, we've got from info to insight, and we're going to cover 5 points this evening on how we can better provide insight. So the very basics of this, here we've got a table of numbers, the very basic level way an accountant would communicate. And what a table of numbers is good for, if I wanted a precise number, sales in period 6, there's the exact number. But if I asked you to analyze the two sets of numbers, what do you have to do? You have to go and read every single one of the sales numbers, store that in your head, think about the trend. Then you need to go to marketing, keep all those numbers in your head, think about the trend, and then see if the two trends correlate. That's an awful lot of work. Or we could use a simple visual. So here we've done the work. The visual is doing the work for you by showing you the trend. All you're left with to do is decide what's the correlation. And for this example, red is marketing. So what we're saying here is our marketing spend is peaked just before our sales is peaked. So we would say we're getting bang for our marketing dollar. So the visual does the work for you. Now I got into doing data visualization when I worked at a major FMCG in Melbourne. I was building executive scorecards. And our project team got a new boss. And he was from one of the big four, and we were discussing the dashboard. He said, Alan, I want this to be sexy. I want this to have bells and whistles. This needs to be the fanciest looking thing since sliced bread. I'm like, hold on now. Sexy is not actually effective. And this is a big problem with data visualization. People think because it looks good, it must be good. But it's not actually that effective. So we're going to play a little game now. I've got a Microsoft Excel template, a pie chart. I've got some overheads. And the question for the room now is, I want to know, by show of hands, which is the third largest segment on the pie chart. So we'll go through and we'll take some answers as we go along. Now, I'm assuming no one's going to go over the first two. Anybody for shared services as the third largest? No takers, all right. Purple IT, any takers? Well, one taker, two taker, right, 3, 4. You've got a few, good. HR in turquoise? Yeah, you've got a fair amount of takers, good. Finance, orange? Few takers, good.
Yeah.
And then we've got supply chain. Any takers? One taker. So would it be safe to say that we all don't agree on which is the third largest one? Right? And this is a Microsoft Excel template. It should be spot on, right? So what if we use a simple bar chart? Exact same information. Now, if I ask you what's the third largest, it's sorted highest to lowest. We can all agree as a room that it's HR. So that's quite simple. Another example of this kind of poor visual, a donut chart again. It's worse than a pie chart. It's actually, get this to do anything, I need to put labels on it, right? So I may as well have just made a small table with 7 numbers and sorted them highest to lowest. Because here, I've got, well, what's 28% here? Oh, right, that's supply chain. And all you're doing is going back and forth. So it's more confusion, more room for all the little biases to creep in and come up with that gut decision. Another pet peeve, 3D charts. Just don't. Just don't. Just don't. I can give you many reasons, but just don't is the best one I have. So where can we maybe get a good visual? Now, I don't know the name of the local NZ finance paper, but this is the Australian Financial Review, my example, and we've got BHP, big Australian company, and now we're comparing where their 6 main revenue streams are. So we've got 6 pie charts, and this is meant to aid us, a visual aid. Why can't you just use a bar graph? Be really simple about it, right? Keep it simple, stupid. So, back to our meter. That's system-driven templates. You're taking what a system's given you and you're going, that must be correct, I'm going to use that. But they don't always know what you really want to do with your data or what insight you're trying to provide. So it's not always the best thing to do. Downsides of system-driven templates. Your expensive ERP and BI tools, I've worked on some big ones. I've seen people implement brand new SAP system, the latest one, really fast, real-time reporting, right? And they use the exact same reports that they had in the old system from 5 years ago. They look the exact same. So they have really fast information. No new insight for their really expensive system. Wasting time. As you can see, we couldn't all agree on the pie chart. If people just get information, they have to go and look for the insight themselves. What we really need to do is go, here's the insight, that's what matters. That leads to poor decisions. And then the last one, outsourcing. So sure we've all seen where things have been outsourced. I've worked on a few projects with things being outsourced to the Philippines. Things are a third of the price. But they only work to the letter of the law. They'll do a task and go, there is what exactly you said you would do. Where what we need to do in finance, obviously, is provide that insight. To do that analysis and say what's important. So if we can do that, it's a lot harder to outsource than just providing information. Any system can do that. So, I have a favourite book. Right? I have a favourite book that's called Nobody Wants to Hear Your Crap. It's a great book, but not when you get it from your other half for Christmas, right? And in this book, the guy who wrote it was, he's a Hollywood writer now, but he was working in a marketing department back in the 70s when he first began. And he would write a sentence, and he would look at the sentence and go, is this going to keep the reader interested? Am I adding value? Can I pare back this message? And what I loved about this book was I was beginning stand-up comedy at the time. And I would have my jokes and I'd need to pare them back and pare them back. And one of my favourite jokes when I started out was, I met a girl online and we went on a coffee date. After a while she said to me, Alan, I'm dying for a drink. She says, oh, are you trying to impress me because I'm Irish? No, Alan, but if I start drinking, you might start looking like your profile picture. That's 47 words. Before I brought it to my comedy mentor, it was 67 words I had. And she said to me, and I said to her, and I had all this fluff. So I'd sit in my little apartment every night and I'd shave off words off my jokes. And then I'd put on my suit and tie the next morning and go into my finance job. And then somebody will present this. The opposite of a pared back message. How many numbers can we get on this page? To pay the consultancy company a lot of money to come up with that actual report on how many numbers we could fit on the page. So it's not a pared back message. Now, here we have a graph with some actual versus last year data. And now this is just information, because I'm not showing you what's important. This is the exact same data. I'm just showing you the variances. So now, straight away, you know who's the worst performer. Anybody picking up that can get a lot more insight than having to calculate the difference between actual last year and now compare each of them. So now I have a little worksheet for you guys. We've got some sheets there, Claire.
We do.
We're just going to pass out some sheets. We're going to do a really, really quick worksheet for you guys. Is anybody needing a pen? Oh, we all have pens in the front row. Oh, sorry. I gotta get you. Beautiful. In the top, everybody good? Fantastic. In the top left-hand corner, we have our little P&L. And with the versus budget, the variance, I'd like you, taking into consideration what we just did with the variances, these ones, how would you simply visualize the variance on your P&L to make it easy to compare and to provide some insight? I'll give you a minute. Any takers? Who wants to be brave? Who wants to be brave? Some people are still going. I hope we're drawing some masterpieces. We're very artistic, us accountants.
Yeah, just effectively that, sit on its side next to the...
Well done, Patrick! Patrick got the right answer. Here we go. Now have some sweets, good man. This is just a simple variant in Excel. There's actually some conditional formatting called data bars, and you can do this really simply, and it adjusts dynamically. We won't have time to go through it today, but I can send you a how-to video of how to do it really quickly afterwards. So I will do that when I get your details at the end. So that's a really simple way to make a P&L more insightful, because in a glance you can see what's good, what's bad, what needs my attention straight away more than something else. So that's the first way we can add some insight to a basic P&L. Now, do people drink a lot of coffee in Auckland? You do? You do, right. So imagine shop A, the cup of coffee is $5. Now, the very same cup of coffee in shop B is $10. Quick show of hands, who feels they'd be ripped off by shop B? 1, 2. A lot of people have to pay the $10. Oh, all right. Must make lots of money over in Auckland. Now, we're buying a car. The car in shop A is $30,000. In shop B, the car is $30,005. Who feels they'd be getting ripped off by shop B? Nobody. $5 is $5, no? No? Oh, what's the difference? Relativity, exactly. Context. Yeah. Here, oh, sorry, chocolates. There you go. Thank you very much, Marion. Guys, I've got lots of chocolates to go, so I need lots of answers today, all right? 2 products, product 1, product 2, sales for 1 month. Versus budget, we see product 1 is ahead of budget, product 2 is behind. So on the face of it, it looks like product 1 is doing a lot better. But what if I added some context? What if I added some trend lines? These are spark lines in Excel. Now, we could say that product 1 is actually on a slippery slope. Product 2 was in a very bad place, but whatever we're doing about it, it's on the way up. So contextually, product 2 is in a much better place. So that can add a lot of insight to our information. Back to our lovely P&L with our variance charts. So what if we added some spark lines to this? Now, it's an awful lot richer. We've got 12 data points. We've got a rolling 12-month in one little cell. And now we can do a lot more comparison and see what's on a slippery slope or what's doing pretty well, even in context of this month. So again, these trend lines, spark lines in Excel, they're pretty simple. And again, I'll show you and I'll send you out a quick how-to video on how you can do those. They're one of my favorite things. Back to the insight meter. So what we just looked at is principle-driven visual. So we're directing what we want to provide that insight, and that's where we want to get to. Now, I'd like to show you a thing called a lens graph. So this is used for seeing the drivers in relationships. Right? So this just states in Australia, sales-wise, I've sorted these from highest to lowest. So that slope, all things being equal, for cost of sales will be the same, and therefore profit to slope should also be the same. But we can see here the QLD, and I'm just going to highlight the 2 issues so we can see them better. The cost of sales, it's out of whack. So in this instance, if it's a drinks company, they're selling too much of a low margin profit. Therefore, their cost of sales is up and their profit's down. We see in the second last one here, cost of sales is down and profit's up. They're selling lots of high margin products. If you imagine, if you had a table of numbers, how long would it take you to get that same insight? How long would it take your business partner, who doesn't even like numbers, to get that insight? If you give people a graph, they can take it all in an awful lot faster and get the correct insights that they need. So I'm not going to touch too much more on this, as it's a more of a complex topic, but this is the gist of it. And all this is putting 3 bar charts together. It's not rocket science, it's just doing something simple and doing it effectively. So if we went back to our insight meter, that would be complexity comparison. Now guys, we've all been sitting down for a good half an hour, 45 minutes. And often I see MCs at gigs, they'll get people to stand up. And the first time I saw it done was at a comedy gig. And I was doing an open mic gig, and open mic comedy is normally just comedians telling jokes to comedians. But this night there was 4 audience members sitting in the front. And one person had been particularly bad. And so the MC said, oh, I'm going to get everyone to stand up. To get everyone to stand up, the 4 audience members stood up and walked straight out the door. They saw their chance and they took it. It was the best comedy of the night. So, just to get a bit of oxygen into our heads again, guys, I want you all to stand up, please. And in turning to your partner from earlier, I'd like partner A to do a stretch, and then I'd like partner B to copy that stretch. Now, come on. Very good. Now we've all done our stretch, and just to get us thinking a little bit, I want you to tell your partner something you've learned this evening. Fantastic, guys, and we're back. And please be seated. Fantastic. Nobody walked out. Oh wait, someone's leaving. Come back here. No Smarties for you. Oh great, round of applause. Some of you may have heard of this book called The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Mary Kondo. And what it gets you to do is, with an example of your clothes, it says take all your clothes and put them in a big pile. And one by one, pick them up and go, has this brought me joy in the last 6 months? And if it hasn't, put it in a pile to get rid of it or donate it. And for me, this was very good for my sports equipment because I injured myself and I had no cartilage in my ankle, so I couldn't play lacrosse anymore. But the gear was there, and of all the emotion and the joy of the gear in the big, it's like a cricket-sized bag, taking up a heap of room in my very small apartment. So it's like, it's not bringing me joy, I can get rid of this, and I donated it to some of the younger players at the club. And I thought the book was so good. Actually, side note, and this is a mental bias, right? The book was so good, I recommended this to my partner Claire, who's at the back with the camera, and she said, oh no, that doesn't really interest me. 6 months later, oh Alan, my friend Libby recommended me this great book. I was like, yeah, the one I recommended you, huh? Mental bias, she thought a man couldn't recommend a book about cleaning, but there you go. She loved the book.
I looked at the evidence around me.
So now we have an Excel template, right? Again, and I want to Marie Kondo this chart. This is on your activity sheet. So I want you to look at this sheet, and I want you to think of what could be removed from this chart. What is not necessary to provide some insight. So if you spend a minute thinking about what could come off this, what could improve this template. You'll get some Smarties. You'll get some Smarties. I'll give you a first tip. We could get rid of the background. We don't need lots of silver to distract us. It's a waste of good ink. Now, what was your name there?
Conchana.
Conchana. Did I get that right? Have some Maltesers. She said put some percentages on the end. That's a very good way. Group them. You could group them, but not in this particular instance. We're going to keep it simple enough, but we could. Yes?
Get rid of the last two at the bottom.
Get rid of the last two. And if you were, we could do that. In this example, we're just working with the information there, but I like your thinking. The lady with the dodgy hand is very smart. Right? So we could get rid of the axis, and then if we've already got the percentages, well, we don't need the lines. Right? So let's compare those two. Which one would you prefer? Which one is easier to read? Which one's easier to take in the information? And it's quite straightforward that the second one is a lot clearer. See, that's about providing more insight, stripping back what's actually in a chart. Less data on the, or less ink on the fancy stuff, and more on the actual data. Now, another little game. 0% finance on a BMW. Who thinks that's a good deal? Well, can we have that as louder? Talking rubbish. See, you tell that to a room of non-accountants. I was speaking to some financial analysts, and half were going, yeah, that's a good deal, I'll take that deal. And I was like, well, folks, obviously, in my humble opinion, as we all know, if you take 0% interest, if you actually pay cash, depending on the car dealer, depending on the model, you get 5 to 10% discount. So you lose that opportunity, and I'm talking to the converted here. But the point with BMW here is they're putting emphasis on the 0%, whereas consumers, we need to think about the overall price of the car. But it's the emphasis point that I want to pick up here. So, another little game. I would like you all to count the number of 5 that are in this box, and when you're finished, please put up your hand. Oh yeah, 11. It's not a trick question or anything. It is 11, but it all took us a little bit of time, didn't it? What if I put emphasis on what I wanted you to look at? That would have been an awful lot faster, right? I've emphasized, like BMW did in a bad way, what's actually important. Back to our humble bar chart. If you added some emphasis, straight away it sticks out what's important. No matter who picks it up, they're going to know in this report what actually is important. For instance, you may have some commentary around that of why HR is obviously important, but you're showing them what's important. They don't have to go fishing around for the information. Again, as we saw on the lens chart, I highlighted the 2 anomalies just to show quicker what was actually there. So I told you a story to open about my face being smacked off the ground. A lot of people like that story because it makes a joke. But what if I told you that story like an accountant would deliver something in a presentation? Here's the same story in bullet points. I had to travel to a gig from point A to point B, OH&S incident. I won't bore you with reading down through all of it, but that's not very engaging, is it? No, it's not. It's just rubbish. It's just, there's no emotion, there's no anything, right? So story really helps us get across the point and get across, keep people engaged. Now, I'm not expecting us all to be beautiful storytellers for our monthly P&L. That's not going to happen. But we could take one element from storytelling, and that's called leading with the ending. So if you lead with the end, people know what's important. People know what lens they should be focusing on this information. So if we led with the ending with a simple graph, this is our lens chart again, we were just saying QLD profit down due to higher volume of water sales, new ad campaign for sports drink is needed to get the higher volume products up. So if you led with the ending and then your graph, your visual becomes the backup to your statement. People know why they're looking at the information and they know what you want them to do, or it gets people to a point of less discussing what and why happened, but more how are we going to fix this? And we can get to that point an awful lot faster. So that's leading with an ending, and you can put that on any simple graph. Now let's go back to our inside meter. So if I put data presentation there, we've covered 4 of our 5 points on how we can get from information to insight. Now, quick show of hands, who's got kids? So lots of people got kids. I have a kid, and you notice that what's important changes pretty quickly when you get a kid. This is my son, Leopold, and very happy boy, but you'll see he comes with some accessories. He needed a bit of help with his oxygen, right? And because of that, Leopold gets his own dashboard. I was quite happy at a dashboard, not because obviously I didn't want to be unhealthy, but at least I could know through a dashboard, I like dashboards, how he's actually doing. So the 92 number is his oxygen amount, and that needs to be 90 and 100. If it goes below 90, it beeps. He's got his BPM here of 152. That goes above 165 or below 75, it beeps. And he's got his own little trend line for his oxygen, so we can see if it's desat too much, etc. Now, he's also got a feeding machine, and if that runs out of food, it beeps. We also have a dog, and if the postman comes to the door, the dog likes to bark. Leopold also likes to vomit on himself, so we might have beeping from the oxygen machine, beeping from the food machine, barking from the dog. Leopold pukes on himself. What do you do? Well, what's the only thing that actually matters? Does Leopold have oxygen? I only care about the number, the 92. He can sit in his own puke for all I care once he has oxygen, because that's actually what matters. Now, I mentioned before I got into data visualization from building dashboards. And when we spoke to the executive team, so guys, what do you want on a dashboard? And they said, well, we want this. And then we spoke to their direct reports. I was like, oh, we don't even have that data. That's not actually important. There was really no agreement on what was actually important. And if you're trying to provide insightful numbers, how are you going to do it if you don't know what's actually important? What are we trying to do? What are the goals? What are the metrics that are really important? So again, I'd like you to talk to your partner again, and I'd like to know, in your business, is everybody actually in agreement of what numbers are important? I think we're laughing already. People all aligned? What's the biggest problem you're Very true, very true. And we're back, guys. So, quick show of hands, how many businesses do you all agree on what numbers are most important? One? One.
I'm self-employed.
Very smart. You tell me. So, this person here, some of you may know, some of you may not. It's Tom Brady, quarterback for the Patriots. He's given this talk to CPA in Melbourne 2 weeks ago, and this guy being particularly quiet all evening. As soon as Tom Brady came up, he shouts, "Loser!" Where did that come out of? But Tom Brady has just lost the equivalent of the Super Rugby final. Did I get that right? Super Rugby? Yeah, thanks. So he lost the last one of those, but he's won 5 of them, and he's been in 8 finals. And they asked Tom Brady, he said, which was your favourite final victory? He said, the next one, right? It's always the next one. He's a relentless will to win. And I was reading a book about him and his team, the Patriots. They're saying that Tom, when he's playing against ex-players on other teams, and they sniff out a play, after the game, he'll go up and go, how did you know what I was going to do? How did you figure me out? He was always seeking feedback. That's how he was getting better. The guy is 40 years old, and he got voted the most valuable professional in the league this year. And so much of it is from feedback, because he's not allowed to be gifted. He's really slow. But feedback, a will to win, right? So the reason I say this to you guys is because to be better accountants and better business partners, we need to be constantly soliciting feedback from our business partners, going, is this actually helpful? Is this the insight you're looking for? Because if you're providing all the insight on the wrong numbers, well, it's not going to be much use, is it? And that brings us back to our insight meter. The last part of it is meaningful metrics. And it can end up actually being quite a large part of it, because if you're not on the same page, your visuals and your insight won't really matter that much. So it's really important to get that feedback and start those conversations. We're going, what's important to everybody sitting around the table? That brings us back to where we started with our little cartoon chart. Going from information all the way to insight. That's the aim of the game with all the information we have at our fingertips. And the outcomes, again, the positives from doing that, the payoffs, you will get a better ROI from your ERP and BI system that you spend so much money on. You can save everybody in your organization time every time they read a report if they've got the insight instead of having to fish for all the meaning. Therefore, everybody will make better decisions at some level, and you will achieve your personal goals, your team will achieve their goals, your department will achieve their goals if you can add more insight. So, on your activity sheet, on the right-hand side, I was looking to give you some Excel videos on the spark lines and the trend lines. I also have a newsletter that I put out monthly, so I collate all the best things about data visualization and communicating numbers. And just like Tom Brady, I'd love your feedback. The thing you like the most and the thing you like the least, because that's very important of what someone didn't enjoy. Additionally, back to our insight meter. I'll actually come back to this in a sec. I'll let you fill that out for a sec and we'll come back to it. Now guys, just on the inside meter, I'd just like to ask you a quick question. Quick show of hands, who knows exactly where they are in this meter in terms of providing insight over information? Would most people know where they are? No? Would most people know where they want to be? Yeah, they know where they want to be? So if there's a gap between where you think you are and where you want to be, it may be worthwhile having a conversation with me and then seeing if we can add value to you. So I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody, have a brief 15-minute chat on the phone. If you'd like to do that, you can put down your number. I'll easily have a chat with you and just see where you are and see if we can add value. But after that, guys, I'm happy to take any questions that you do have. Yeah?
Have you used, I know you've only used black and red in your presentation, but have you used colour as another?
Colour palettes are very important, yes. So colour palettes are an area, because a lot of people don't think enough about that. It's a very good question. Colour palettes are things you need to look at quite often. I look at like corporate colours, and we go with corporate colours, and then what colours contrast. The best example of that is like traffic light reports, and people use the most hideous green, the most hideous, different colours, and it's like, why? So the short answer to that question, if you want to use colours, Google hues and use soft hues because they're easy on the eye and they don't blind people essentially. But it is important, depending on what type of report, what colour you should use. Yeah. But use contrasting. That's why I use a lot of blue and then the red. They're easy on the eye. Or I use grey and red. Things really stand out that way. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah, you start going. Yeah.
How about animation?
Animation in
Move.
things that move.
I mean, all of these are static.
Yeah, they are all static. So we talk like in terms of a PowerPoint presentation or in financial report. You'd like to see some animation in financial reports, or?
Well, those squiggly charts, of course, you can see the trend turn up or down, or
Yeah.
or whatever. But we can do that with moving things as well.
We could do that with moving things, but probably the focus that I have here is on kind of, you know, monthly reports or doing analysis that you're going to, that may be part of a board pack that are going to be printed. That's probably the best one. They're going to be printed out. So we can't really have animation in things that are printed out. But if you're doing a board style presentation, sure, it may be appropriate to do animation, and we used to do it somewhere. We used to animate with the company products, and one for actual going up on budget, and you can see the gap. And that was animated, and it kind of brought a little bit of interest to something a bit different. So yeah, definitely in presentations. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time, folks. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much, and yes, a very big thank you to Alan for some fantastic insights there that you've given us this evening.